Hey guys, so I did my presentation based off my bee biology paper, which I did on Manuka honey and more specifically its uses in the medical world and what that kind of means for the future. So just like a little bit of background information, honey and more specifically Manuka honey has been used for nearly 8,000 years in regards to holistic forms of medicine. In today's world, you kind of see it as this superfood that is incredibly expensive, depending on its purity levels, and is being used and researched for all sorts of different reasons. So I thought it would be a great topic for this paper. So Manuka honey, part of the reason of its crazy expense value is because it's so particular to a certain part of the world. So it can only be produced in some small sections of New Zealand, but mainly Australia. And this is because the bees who produce it need to have access to the Manuka plant. Manuka, more specifically, only blooms 6 weeks a year. And this typically falls in the time period sometime between December and January, but it can go into months, November and February. It just really depends on the plants that year. But um, basically, honey production is super similar to the way we see honeybees here. The scouts will go out and search for a patch of the secluded Manuka forest, head back to the hive, will dance for her sisters, send the workers out to collect nectar. They'll bring that nectar back to the hive, break it down into simple sugars like glucose and fructose, and stored in the honeycomb, fanned, and then capped. So basically, almost the exact same way. So what makes Manuka so special that it has these healing properties and can be ridiculously expensive? So Manuka honey is naturally antibacterial due to hydrogen peroxide. That's similar to all honeys, but what makes it a little more special is that it's also antimicrobial due to MgO with just methylgloxal. Antimicrobial solutions are super important to the medical world as they're really hope it's helpful at sanitizing and treating in general. There's actually a direct correlation between the amount of MgO in Manuka and its greater healing effects. You kind of see a potency in which you could treat different things used on the properties that come naturally with the honey. So the way that they kind of detect this potency and they measure it is called the UMF scale, which stands for the unique Manuka factor. Simply put, the higher that this factor is, the more pure the honey is, in which it can be sold as a higher price due to holistic healing properties. And that's why it has a higher market value price. So there's actually been a lot of research about Manuka that's coming out more and more recently, just with like tons of different positive effects that they've been seeing in different kinds of research. Some of the main ones that were already known were on the left-hand side that it was helpful at treating cuts and burns. It's good for your immune support and also for sore throats. On the right-hand side, I kind of included a couple more things that I found were extremely interesting, and this saw a lot of positive results in regards to eczema and dermatitis, reducing esophageal inflammation after chemotherapy, and cleaning the digestive tract. Manuka has really gained a lot of traction in today's society because of the chemotherapy in itself, and it's being called a cancer curing superfood. Although there's not a lot of conclusive research on it, it's a really interesting thought, and a lot of the research that comes out has pointed that it does have some significant effects um, on chemotherapy healing and just some really interesting stuff. But there's my works cited, and that's all I've got for you guys.